There was, surprisingly, only one anime to make me cry this year. Perhaps even more surprisingly to myself and to many who know me, that anime wasn't do-it-yourself with its sanguine and impeccable slice of life, nor was it my other favorites from the year, Bocchi the Rock and Cyberpunk Edgerunners, with their heartfelt and creative takes on the outsider mentality. And this too in a year where an Arya movie aired. No, just like 2021, the thing that got me to cry the most was the Studio MAPPA show with the CGI zombies. Yes, the most emotionally manipulating anime I saw this year was Chainsaw Man.
We need to talk about something interesting.
On its surface, Chainsaw Man is an action show with lots of violence and mystery. None of this is particularly appealing to me. Instead, I'd like you to look at the interstitials, read between the lines, and analyze the liminal spaces that occupy so much of the runtime of this show. Take, for example, the 12th episode's ending. No spoilers necessary, and perhaps you don't even remember it. There's nothing outwardly special about this, in fact, quite the opposite. All it describes is the three main characters of Denji, Power, and Aki, after all their battles have been fought and won, walking together to a supermarket, buying dinner, cooking, and eating it. And this simple moment of harmony stood out above everything else that I watched in a very, very good year of anime, and was the single thing that brought me to tears. And as luck would have it, I know exactly why that is the case. I can tell you entirely why MAPPA saved this as the reward for the final episode. It's because there's nothing quite like a found family. You might immediately think that maybe something like Spy X Family would be exactly that, and yeah, I would say the second opening really gets at that. But I think what makes Chainsaw Man's found family head and shoulders above the one shown in Spy X Family is not only execution, but a sense of purposelessness. Consider the characters of Chainsaw Man. We have Denji, an orphan, raised in extreme poverty and exploitation, so crushed by life that over the course of the season, he literally builds Maslow's hierarchy of needs up from the bottom. Over and over again, characters ask Denji what he wants, what he's fighting for, what motivates him. So much of his screen time is devoted to learning and understanding the needs of a normal person. In this way, he's the perfect recipient of the gift of life because he doesn't take anything for granted. If you go your entire life without having your basic human needs met, you will have a unique and wonderful perspective whenever you do receive something like jam or positive attention. Denji learning all the different things that a human being can and should want is the interesting thing about his character. One that's mirrored in the purposelessness of his compatriot, even down to their shared love of pets. Power is functionally an alien. She has no idea about society or relationships or how those can matter. This results in the hilarity of her idea of social status, of becoming the president of a country, of winning a Nobel Prize. These lofty-minded ideals are just how she internalizes the idea of purpose, of what human beings should want in social situations. Of course, because they're not grown naturally, these ideas are a facsimile, shown by Power thinking she'll use her status to have all humans subservient to her. Because they're so close in this regard, it makes it very believable when Power and Denji form this friendship. While they are rather stupid characters, it's not for that they are appealing. Instead, it's their naivete. It's their souls that have not been tarnished by greed. They are characters with all the fantasy power in the world who want for only one thing: a simple, normal, everyday life. And it's because they have this unique perspective, one that can't be tampered with or created artificially, that they are able to share with us a unique perspective when they do obtain that togetherness, that simple here and now, the grace that, just like our next meal, so many of us do take for granted. when they walk together to the supermarket and pick out their dinner. Perhaps that reminds you of the innocence of a child, as well it should. But as Arya said many, many years ago, in regards to this exact thing, it's a simple thing, but so many forget it.
What about all the times when you were upset or sad?
Good question. Perhaps you can think of those times as the spice that helps life seem more enjoyable in comparison. Take whatever comes and change it inside yourself. Make everything something to enjoy. The act of living day to day can be the most wondrous thing. If you can take everything this world gives you and make it something for you and others to enjoy, then becoming the brightest star Undine on Aqua isn't such an impossible dream after all. It's truly such a simple thing to enjoy what you do. But everyone seems to always forget it.
Make everything something to enjoy.
I think too that's my reading on Aki. At one time, perhaps he did have something to protect, something to fight for, some high-minded nobility. And sure, to some degree he's coping with his grief and the weight of the responsibilities he thrust upon himself. But when he joins in with Denji torturing the villain, and his contented face when he sees Denji and Power throw in various meats into the shopping cart, it shows us very, very subtly that something is there now for him that was not there before. Bereft of all the fantasy that he's in, Aki can enjoy the here and the now, the simple, quiet moments that he shares together with his found family. Purposelessness and found family. A world that rejected human beings, discarded them as worthless, and gave them nothing. This exactly describes what is currently my third favorite show ever made in any media ever. Mawaru Penguindrum. The family of the Takakuras is held hostage by the whims of fate, being made to pay for the sins of their parents. Likewise, materially poor, the very last thing that they hold dear and sacrosanct is their togetherness. And of course, through the machinations of an uncaring and unfair story, that is taken from them too. When the best they could hope for is to be alive, how can they design any type of grander thoughts or ideas or value to their own worthless lives? Listen up, you lowlives who will never amount to anything. Those are the words of the Princess of the Crystal, an entity, an alien, quite literally, that comes in and throws all the glamour onto the Takakuras. They must find the Penguindrum. They must go on this quest, this fantasy, this battle that they must fight, or else they'll never see their dear sister ever again. The only difference between Chainsaw Man and Penguindrum is that the Takakuras know that simple grace before it gets dissolved. They want it and they fight for it. Maybe Chainsaw Man will get there too someday. But just like Denji only fighting for the fact that maybe Makima will praise him, hold him, respect him, or love him, so too do Kamba and Shoma dive into this realm of fantasy, fighting to wrest out that one moment, that one treasure of grace and togetherness and being a family that they value so much. And in this pursuit, ostensibly to save that grace, they incongruously end up destroying it. How sad and tragic it is to fight so hard for something, but not even realize what it was that you valued to begin with. It's this ultimate ironic puzzle, one so fraught with drama and despair that it can't help but make you cry if done well. Human beings and fiends and worthless, discarded children cursed by fate, they value nothing higher than the bonds that they create. And for me, an anime which has the intentions of showing domestic life, and not just showing it, but propping it up and giving it its screen time and its value intrinsically, understands so much about the fundamental truths that drive us as a species. It's so funny, we can do so many things with our fantasy and our fiction and our animation, and yet the truth that stares us back at the end of the day is that we simply enjoy others' company, that we can be at peace and satisfied with just 3 people sitting around a table, that simply spending time with those you care about is reward in and of itself, and nowhere is that more evident than in the found family, than in people with no purpose or drive, than in the living room of the Takakuras, than in the final, peaceful, harmonious ED of Chainsaw Man.